Good day. Today, we are going to discuss the imperialism in Southeast Asia by the Western powers like Portugal, Spain, Netherlands, France, United Kingdom, and United States, which peaked from the colonial period beginning in the 16th century and substantially reducing with 20th century decolonization. It originated in the 15th century search for alternative trade routes to the Indian subcontinent and Southeast Asia, as a response to Ottoman control of the Silk Road that led directly to the Age of Discovery, and additionally, the introduction of early modern warfare into what Europeans first called the East Indies and later the Far East. As the Europeans did in Africa, they rushed to divide up Southeast Asia. These lands form part of the Pacific Rim, the countries that border the Pacific Ocean. Western nations desired the Pacific Rim lands due to their strategic location along the sea route to China. Before the 15th century, Southeast Asia was a diverse region with powerful kingdoms, vast trade networks, and rich cultural traditions. The region was home to major civilizations such as the Khmer Empire in Cambodia, the Majapahit Empire in Indonesia, and the Ayutthaya Kingdom in Thailand. These kingdoms engaged in extensive trade with China, India, and the Middle East, exchanging goods such as spices, gold, silk, and ceramics. Hinduism, Buddhism, and Islam shaped the religious and cultural landscape, brought by traders and missionaries. Maritime trade routes, particularly the Strait of Malacca, were crucial for economic and political power in the region. European powers began scrambling for Southeast Asia in the 16th century, driven by economic, political, and religious motives. The Portuguese were the first Europeans to establish a presence, seizing Malacca in 1511. The Spanish colonized the Philippines in 1565, who took control of the lucrative spice trade. By the 19th century, the Industrial Revolution fueled European desires for raw materials and markets. The British, French, and Dutch intensified their colonization efforts, leading to the full partition of Southeast Asia. The British controlled Burma and Malaya. The French occupied Indochina, Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, and the Dutch ruled the Dutch East Indies, Indonesia. The British colonization of Burma, now Myanmar, began in the early 19th century. Before colonization, Burma was ruled by the Konbaung dynasty, which had expanded its territory through military campaigns. The Burmese Empire was a formidable regional power, controlling present-day Myanmar, parts of Thailand, and Assam in India. The kingdom was influenced by Theravada Buddhism and had a complex administrative system. The Burmese economy was based on agriculture, with rice being the primary crop. Trade flourished through ports like Rangoon, where merchants engaged in commerce with India and China. The British sought to colonize Burma for strategic and economic reasons. Burma was a key trade route between India and China, and the British feared that French influence in the region could threaten their colonial interests. The Anglo-Burmese Wars marked Britain's attempts to gain control. The First Anglo-Burmese War, 1824 to 1826, ended with the Treaty of Yandabo, forcing Burma to cede Assam, Manipur, and Arakan to British India. The Second War, 1852, led to the annexation of Lower Burma, while the Third Anglo-Burmese War, 1885, resulted in the fall of Mandalay and the complete annexation of Burma into British India. The British justified their conquest by portraying Burmese rule as corrupt and inefficient. However, many Burmese resisted colonization, leading to armed rebellions. The fall of the Konbaung dynasty and the exile of King Thibaw, the last king of the Konbaung dynasty in 1885, marked the end of Burma's sovereignty. The British implemented colonial policies that disrupted traditional society. They introduced a new administrative system, placing Burma under the control of British India. English replaced Burmese as the official language in governance, and British officials marginalized the Burmese monarchy and nobility. Economically, British rule led to the expansion of the rice industry, with Burma becoming a major exporter. However, land policies favored Indian and British merchants, marginalizing Burmese farmers. The British also exploited Burma's teak forests, using them for shipbuilding and trade. The influx of Indian laborers and merchants into Burma created ethnic tensions, which would later influence the country's political struggles in the 20th century. Culturally, British colonization altered Burmese society. Traditional Buddhist education declined as Western-style schools, often run by Christian missionaries, spread. The British also imposed legal reforms that clashed with Burmese customs. Despite these changes, Burmese nationalism grew in the early 20th century. Organizations like the Young Men's Buddhist Association, YMBA, and the Dobama Ajayon, We Burmese Association, laid the groundwork for independence movements. The YMBA was founded in Rangoon in 1906 as a federation of lay Buddhist groups dating back to 1898, with prominent founders including Ba Pei, Sir Mongyi, and Dr. Ba Yin. It was modeled on the Young Men's Buddhist Association founded in Ceylon in 1898 and was created to preserve the Buddhist-based culture in Burma against the backdrop of British colonialism, including the incorporation of Burma into India. On the other hand, the Dobama Ajayon was a Burmese nationalist group formed around the May 1930 and composed of young, disgruntled intellectuals and was established by Ba Thong, bringing together traditionalist Buddhist, nationalist elements, and fresh leftist political ideals. It was significant in stirring up political consciousness in Burma and drew most of its support base from students. By the early 20th century, resistance against British rule intensified. The Saya San Rebellion, 1930 to 1932, led by Saya San, was one of the most significant uprisings against British rule. Burmese nationalists, including future independence leader Aung San, emerged in the 1930s. The Saya San Rebellion was a peasant uprising in Burma against British rule, highlighting economic struggles and inspiring future nationalist movements. Saya San's legacy as a national hero continues to influence Burmese culture, teaching valuable lessons about grassroots movements, leadership, and the fight for justice. During World War II, Burma became a battleground between British and Japanese forces. The Japanese occupation, 1942 to 1945, strengthened nationalist sentiments, leading to Burma's eventual independence in 1948.